Hello and welcome to the Total Training for InDesign CS4 Essentials series. My name is James Lockman and I'll be your guide to getting a handle on the essential things you need to know about InDesign CS4. I own a graphic design and digital print company and am a consultant to companies around the country. In the print shop, we've been using InDesign since version 1.0. We use it not only as a tool to help us create award-winning designs for our customers, but we also use it for our own internal forms, as a collaboration tool, and to help put documents on our website as PDF. I not only have practical experience with InDesign, but I'm an Adobe Certified Expert in InDesign, which means that I've taken, and passed, a test that qualifies me in the eyes of Adobe systems. I've passed several of these tests, and also have the qualification of Adobe Certified Expert Design Specialist. In addition, I'm the Adobe Community Expert for Variable Data Solutions. I frequently appear on behalf of Adobe systems at industry events, delivering speeches and providing technical support. As I said earlier, this is the Total Training for InDesign CS4 Essentials series. During the series, you will get comfortable with the InDesign interface, learn how to create new documents and use templates, how to manage text and graphics within your InDesign document, how to add interactivity to your InDesign project, and how to save it as PDF or to Flash for the web, and much more. The series is divided up into chapters, and you can view them in any order you wish. There are also chapter files for you to use if you want to follow along with me. These files are organized by chapter, and each chapter's files are self-contained. InDesign CS4 works on both Macs and Windows computers, and you can feel free to use either platform, but in a few cases there may be some differences. But not to worry though, because I'll tell you about them and show you what's different. Let's turn to Chapter 1, where we'll learn how to set up the InDesign interface and customize it. First, we'll learn how to navigate around within the interface itself. Then we'll explore the control panel. We'll also see how we can customize keyboard shortcuts and menu items. Finally, we'll see how we can use a workspace to save what we've done and refer to it at any time. Are you ready? Let's go! We're looking at InDesign in its default state, which is how we get it when we install it fresh. If you happen to have been playing around with it before you took these lessons, you may want to restore it to its default state, and it's easy to do. On a Macintosh, hold down the Command, Option, Control, and Shift keys when you start InDesign. On a Windows machine, hold down the Alt, Control, and Shift keys when you start InDesign. InDesign will present a dialog that will ask you if you want to reset the preferences to the defaults. Say yes, and you'll get back to this state right here. And this is where we'll begin the lesson. I'd like to begin by opening a document, not to work on it, but just to have one open so that we can see some of the features of the interface. First of all, you'll notice when you start InDesign that you get this large dialog that appears. This dialog provides access to some interesting information. For instance, you can see that we have a recent items list. This is empty because we're in the default state and there's no history. Over on the right, you can see Create New, and under that you'll see Document, Book, Library, or from a template. We'll take a look at these in greater detail in other chapters. Under that, you'll see the community links. Here you'll see the InDesign Interchange, InDesign User Groups, InDesign Partner Connection, and the InDesign Plugins pages. All you need to do to visit these is simply click on the links. At the bottom, you'll also see some news about InDesign CS4. In the lower left, you'll also notice Getting Started, some new features, and resources, all available from within this dialog. This dialog will change so long as you have an internet connection. As new news appears or as the community changes, this dialog will reflect that. So if you don't have an internet connection, you won't see this change. If you do have an internet connection, this will stay up to date. Let's begin by opening a document. To do so, we can choose File Open from the File menu, or we can choose Open from the Recent Items list. Let's pick Open from the Recent Items list. You'll notice that that becomes a link. If we hover over it, it says Select an existing document to work with. If we click it, it will open up to a file browser. Now I happen to already be in the folder. Browse to the Chapter 1 folder inside of your Project Files folder, and then go into the Plucky Pony Sale Flyer folder. Open up the Plucky Pony Sale Flyer. Select it, either double-click it, or click Open. The document opens, and we can now see some of the features of the InDesign interface. The interface may look strange if you're a user of InDesign prior to CS3, or if you're coming over from, say, PageMaker or Quark Express. Let's point out a few features that are really important. On the left, you'll see the toolbar, and the toolbar allows us access to the various tools that we'll use to interact with items on the pages. You'll see at the top there's a selection tool. There are several other tools, and we'll look at those in detail. The selection tool is what we'll be using right now. If I hover over any tool, I'll get some information about what the tool is and also how to get to it with my keyboard if I'd like to use shortcuts. If I click the tool, it makes the tool active. So now the selection tool is active. I can use it to select any item on the page. I'd like to call your attention to a few things before I select an item on the page. First of all, along the top of the screen, you can see the menus. These menus all refer to specific types of activities that we'll want to do with InDesign. For instance, the File menu talks about file activities like opening and saving, as well as exporting our files. Each of the other menus refers to other activities that we'll be seeing within InDesign. Underneath the menu, you'll notice a new feature. This is called the Application Bar. The Application Bar provides quick access to a number of features of the application. For instance, you can see Bridge is indicated right there with that button. If you click it, it will open up Bridge. You'll also see the ability to change the scaling that we view the document. The scaling that we're currently using is indicated in two places right at our fingertips. One is this pull-down menu right here, which allows us to go and select a zoom level or type in a zoom level. I can also type in, if I double-click, I can say maybe 25% instead of 60. If I hit return, it will zoom out to that level. You'll also notice that at the top of the document window, the scaling percentage is indicated there as well. There are a few other features on the application bar that I'd like you to take notice of. This button allows us to select which items on the page that we're viewing. Our rulers are on by default, but our frame edges are off. We can turn our frame edges on or off here. Try that now. So turn on the frame edges and see the difference in the page. You may want to zoom in to 60% to get a better view. Select the scaling menu and type in 60%. Hitting return will commit that. Remember, we've turned on Show Frame Edges. This may look a little confusing if you're not used to the way that InDesign displays content. The frame edges appear around every object on the page. This view gives you a really clear indication of how many objects are on this page. To turn off the frame edges, simply go back to the View Options menu and pull down to Frame Edges and shut them off. You'll also notice from this menu that we can control Guides, Smart Guides, Baseline Grid, and Hidden Characters. Under this control, we have the screen options. There are 4 of these. By default, we're viewing the document in normal mode. We also have the ability to preview how our document will look when it's printed. So if we switch to preview mode, we can see that now. When we switch to preview mode, we hide all of the content that may be floating around in the pasteboard. We'll use the pasteboard later, but for now, let's just say that it's the area to the left and to the right of the document page. You can see that it's turned gray here. We also have bleed mode and slug mode. Bleed mode allows us to see the edges of our content that bleed off of the page. Now, in this example document, we don't have any content that bleeds. We'll use the bleed and slug mode later on. Right now, I'd like to return to normal mode. We have another control here, and this control allows us to arrange our documents. Since we only have one document open, we're not going to see much here. But when we have multiple documents open, then a number of options will become available to help us to take our documents and scale them and to tile them and to arrange them in our document window or in our application window so that we can have better access to all of the content on our pages. Over on the right, we have the Workspace menu. Now, the Workspace menu allows you quick access to different arrangements of the document. We'll return to it at the end of the chapter.